This is Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. But first, our top stories. The heavy metal legend and Black Sabbath frontman Ozzy Osbourne has died at the age of 76. His family says he passed away this morning, surrounded by love. The head of the UN warns the aid situation in Gaza is becoming a horror show as children reportedly die of malnutrition. In England, get a late equaliser to take their Euros semi-final against Italy into extra time. Hello there, you're watching the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. It's time to see what's making the headlines with the broadcaster and commentator Ali Miraj and the journalist and broadcaster Sonia Soda. They'll be with us from now until just before midnight. First, let's see what is on some of those front pages. Well, the death announced tonight of music legend Ozzy Osbourne earns a front-page lead story in The Sun, with a picture of the heavy metal star with his wife Sharon and the headline, The Wonderful Wizard of Ozzy. The worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza leads the Express, picturing a starving child and the plea, for pity's sake, stop this now. The Guardian reports on the growing international outrage over the war in Gaza. The Mail claims that the relatives of British victims of the Air India crash have been sent the wrong remains in what the paper describes as a horrific bungle. According to the Telegraph, Essex police have admitted to escorting protesters demonstrating in support of migrants to the hotel in Epping, where migrants have controversially been housed. The Eye reports on plans to give workers early access to money in their pension pots as part of a move to boost savings. The Metro leads with a study's findings that the COVID pandemic aged all of our brains, even those who were never infected, with the stress of isolating and not knowing when it might stop, both being major contributors. And the Financial Times reports that the estate of British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch is to be declared bankrupt, despite being worth several £100 million because of outstanding debts to the computing firm Hewlett-Packard. And we're joined tonight by Ali Miraj and Sonia Soda. Great to see you both. Lots of different kinds of stories. I suppose when it comes to pictures and, you know, the story that broke in the evening, it is the death of Ozzy Osbourne. Let's look at the front page of The Sun. It kind of says it all. Great headline, Wonderful Wizard of Ozzy. And they're pictured with his wife, Sharon, who's credited with sort of recreating the second phase of his career. Sonia, I guess not everyone is a metal fan, but he was a hugely symbolic figure.
Absolutely. I mean, he was the godfather of heavy metal, a real kind of musical legend in the UK. He hailed from Birmingham. I mean, I think it's really striking that he gave his last performance before he died just 17 days previously. It was his farewell gig. It was in his home city of Birmingham at Villa Park Stadium. And, you know, I think it's probably... He did have a lot of issues with his health. He'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's. He had various other health issues. But, you know, he was performing less than 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So I think the news will come as a big shock to a lot of people, particularly heavy metal fans.
Yeah, but actually, Ali, I mean, the tributes were coming from everywhere, and even musicians like Sir Elton John, who's not a metal musician, but, you know, he was just such a key part of the British music industry, though being global.
He was absolutely an icon of the heavy metal scene, clearly been around for decades. Look, I grew up with Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. I was not a massive fan of the music, but he's an iconic, legendary figure. I mean, Elton John himself said he's a legend. The tributes are pouring in. And Sonia mentioned the concert at Villa Park where he was there and he sang a few songs. Black Sabbath were also there. Guns N' Roses were there as well, which just shows you the respect with which he was held. And I also think that Sharon Osbourne clearly had a big part in his career. People will remember him very, very fondly, and he's an icon of the industry. And he also won multiple Grammys as well.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with Sharon is that actually I think a lot of, especially younger people, will know him from the TV show that they had with the whole family.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you know, that's sort of one of the things he was most famous for in the latter stages of his career, you know, massive reality TV show. It was nominated for lots of awards. As you said, Barbara, she was really credited with kind of reinventing him in the sort of second part of his career. And it was a relationship that, you know, had huge ups and downs. They separated at one point. He was arrested for attempting to murder her, to strangle her while drunk. So, I mean, rocky feels like a bit of an understatement when it comes to describing their relationship, but they were reconciled, and, you know, she had a huge, huge influence on his career as well.
I mean, look, he left school at 15.
Forgive me, I'm going to have to stop you because we have to go to Geneva and speak to Jackie Beltrao, who has the latest on that game with the Lionesses in the Euros. Jackie.
Thanks so much. You could not make it up. Good evening from Geneva. The Lionesses have roared into the finals of the Euros in the last couple of minutes. Italy took the lead after 33 minutes against the run of play in this match through Barbara Bonacea, following some nice build-up play. The Italians took full advantage of some messy defending from England as the midfielder lashed the ball into the roof of the net. So many chances for England, they just could not get on the end of any of them. But for the second game in a row, Michelle Aguiman saved the day with a last-gasp equaliser in stoppage time. 2 minutes from the end, the 19-year-old capitalised on Italy's defensive failure with a stunning finish to scenes of wild jubilation. Absolutely brilliant goal. A super sub once again. Then another super sub, the super sub, Chloe Kelly took a penalty award in the last minutes of extra time. It was kept out really well by Laura Giuliani, but Kelly buried the rebound. 2-1 to England in the final minutes of extra time when both teams really were dead on their feet. I mean, my goodness. Again, a roller coaster of emotion. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris is here. Didn't look like it was going to happen, did it? I mean, it just wasn't happening for England tonight, and yet somehow they're in the final again.
Yes, we were there 3 years ago at Wembley. Chloe Kelly scored the winner to lift the trophy. She's done it again. The clamour was for Kelly to come off the bench when England were trailing. She eventually came on the 77th minute, but it was the team who rescued them initially. Michelle Aguiman at just 19, 2 goals in 2 games. The 6th minute of stoppage time, and it looked like everyone from the Lionesses were going home, taking it into extra time. And then when it looked like we might have the agony of penalties again, we did have some penalty pain. Chloe Kelly having her first kick saved, but then following up the rebound, and now we can barely hear over Sweet Caroline.
I know, I was wondering if Lucy Bronze wanted to take it, then Chloe Kelly had it. She's got this penalty routine, which is so good to watch. Anyway, let's have a look at some live scenes of fans reacting at Wembley to the news, to the goals, those real last gasp goals from the Lionesses at Wembley Box Park, where they'd had a little gig a little bit earlier on to raise their spirits when England were trailing 1-0 at half-time. But my goodness, talk about living on your nerves. Here's the goal coming up. I mean, why, oh why, Rob, did Serena Wiegmann leave it so late to make those substitutions? And, you know, we know that Chloe Kelly makes a difference with her crosses. She came on, she made that difference. I mean, despite playing only 126 minutes of football before this match, she has created as many chances as anyone in that team.
The super sub, or the finishers, as Serena Wiegmann calls them. Beth Mead did come on at half-time for Lauren James. Whether that was an injury decision, we don't know.
It was actually, because Lauren James was then seen hobbling off with an ice pack on her foot. But, you know, she wasn't the one making the difference there. It was those late substitutions that really sparkled when nobody else really was.
And Aguiman only came on in the 85th minute for Leah Williamson, the captain, so a striker coming on for a defender. And then 11 minutes later, as we were facing extra time, so as facing going out, she goes and rescues it. Another late rescue from the Lionesses, 3 finals in a row.
What was really quite funny actually here was just before the end of normal time, they'd opened the gates to let people out because they thought Italy had won it. The match was finished. It was all over. May as well open the gates, and then all of a sudden, whoops, close those gates again, get everybody back in because the match wasn't finished at all and it was going to extra time. Everyone's piling out here right now, and I mean, that was exhausting, wasn't it? To watch that.
There must just be utter disbelief. If we think back to the quarter-final, Sweden trailing 2-0, going into the 79th minute. Lucy Bronze begins that comeback. Adjuman then gets the equaliser, then to take it into the extra time and ultimately the penalty shootout. And they're never down and out, are they?
No, they never really are. Have a look at these pictures of the players celebrating on the pitch right now. And Michelle Adjuman right in the centre of it all, and absolutely she should be. Chloe Kelly, Alex Greenwood, my goodness, I mean, she was tired at the end. I was really fearing, actually, for all those players when they, the fact that it was literally about to go to penalties. And just, saved by the bell. Well, saved by Beth Mead, actually, who went down in the box. And then Chloe Kelly and Lucy Bronze had this tussle as to who was going to take the penalty. And Chloe Kelly won that tussle. Maybe because she had fresher legs, I don't know. What do you think?
And it did spare everyone from a penalty shootout. It was a penalty, obviously.
I don't think the Italians wanted that either. They looked exhausted.
But what a moment for them. It was their first semi-final since 1997. They couldn't quite reach their first final since then. But what about Serena Wiegmann? So many doubts. So everyone perhaps back at home saying, why isn't she bringing the subs on? But now...
to be fair, we were saying that also, bring on those substitutes. But she gambled, and it paid off, didn't it?
Just as it did at the Euros in 2022. But this is now a fifth final for Wiegmann. 2 with the Netherlands, who won the Euros with them in 2017. Now 3 with England, of course, 2022, Wembley, losing the World Cup final when we were there in Sydney, but still taking the Lionesses their first World Cup final. And now getting another shot at another European trophy, another final. But how many managers can you think of who've led a team to 5 international finals?
I just would love to be a fly in the wall in that dressing room when they all go in there. Yes, come on England. When they all go in there very shortly. Michelle Adjuman, who is only 19, plays for Arsenal, was out on loan to Brighton last season. So not many people knew that much about her really coming into these championships. She's not played much championship football either. So what a moment for her. But talk about brave, talk about absolutely certain of what she was going to do with that goal. And she has saved the Lionesses again with that late equaliser, 2 minutes from the end of added time to take it into extra time, and then Chloe Kelly putting away that penalty on the rebound. The penalty was saved, she put it away on the rebound to make it 2-1 to England. It was nerve-jangling stuff, and we all need to go and have a little lie down, so we'll come back to you after this short break.
It's like a football final with only one team on the pitch. This isn't just a call to vote, but a call to remember. The freedom fought for by the African National Congress.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
A cyclone and 2 burst dams wiped out hundreds of generational homes.
This was the second dam that the floodwaters hit before it tore into Derna.
We are in the heart of Nairobi, and we're watching as protesters were heavily tear gassed.
The sheer fearlessness and persistence of these guys is astonishing.
We help you understand the world with us. I remember going into the iconic Omdurman market in the heart of Sudan's capital for the first time since the war started. And this is what's left of it. Bullet holes through buildings, shelled balconies, bullet cases on the floor. I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories and the lives of millions of people. This is insane. This was a bustling residential area. So many friends who lived here. My most memorable interview was with a 15-year-old boy who'd survived being stranded on a migrant boat on its way from Senegal to the Canary Islands.
After 13 days, our food, water and fuel supply ran out.
I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
They call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News. Get the full story first. Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky News.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world, just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Turkey is burying its dead.
Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone could say, I'll do that, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
Sky News. Get the full story first.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me in the studio, Sonia Soda and Ali Miraj. And we have just found out, Sonia and Ali as well, that the Lionesses are in the final again.
Yes, I mean, they've really kept us on the edge of the seat, our seats with this tournament. So we had the quarter-final against Sweden, where it went to penalties and England got through on penalties. And then we had this, where basically England equalised literally like 2 minutes to go of additional time. Then it went to extra time. And then, you know, we saw England win on a penalty. So it was really, really nail-biting stuff. We don't know who they're going to face in the final on Sunday yet. Could be Germany, could be Spain, could be a rerun of the last Women's Euro final, which I was actually at Wembley at, where it was England versus Germany and England took the trophy. So let's hope that happens again. But, I mean, it has been nail-biting.
Yeah.
It might not have been quite what Sabrina Wiegman wanted in terms of how they've got there, but they're through to the final.
They got there.
We'll take
and
it.
Actually, no matter what happens in the final, they've made history, because I think it's the third consecutive final in major tournaments. So they're the first team to do that. First English team, of course, to do this.
They're definitely showing the men how to do it. They are very successful. It has been very, very stressful, though. I mean, if you're an England football fan, it's been extremely stressful. The Swedish match was absolutely, I mean, nail-biting. I mean, the penalties were appalling, but they managed to find a way to win, and that's all that matters.
It is.
The result that matters.
It's all or nothing in football.
And tonight was another case of it. I mean, you know, they leave it to the end, and they've done that before, but now they're through to a final, and let's hope they win.
Yeah, well, it's either Germany or Spain. They play tomorrow, and of course the final is Sunday, so we'll have to wait till then. But how exciting anyway. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other stories, somewhat less exciting, but still important. The Telegraph front page. Ali, if you can start us off with this, and it's about the doctor strikes, and it does seem that they are going to go ahead at the end of the week.
They are going to go ahead, and the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is saying that junior doctors, now called resident doctors, are treating the country with complete disdain for patients. And I think that they need to be careful, the resident doctors, now, because they're asking for 29%, which they say is pay restoration. They've already had 22, 23% before.
I think it's like 28% over the last 3 years.
Which is what when they came in, Streeting took a view that he wanted to get rid of this strike action because there's a 7.5 million waiting list. He wanted to get it done, which he did. And some people saw that as an element of weakness. And in fact, what they said at the time was, we're not going to strike again now because there's a new Labour government, it's really popular. We're going to wait tactically for about a year to go, and then we'll do it again. Now, I think people are going to see through this, and they're going to lose public support. The NHS is already on its knees, and now they're going to have to pay consultants huge fees to step up and actually cover for these strikes. So I think junior doctors, resident doctors, call it what you want, are in danger really of losing public support.
And also, Sonia, I mean, it's about money, but it could also be about working conditions, because that's another one of their issues.
Sure, but in fact, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has just put more on the table in terms of their working conditions. And they've said, well, it's not really about working conditions, it's about our pay. We need our pay to go up. And I'm afraid I agree with Ali here. I just don't think their asks are reasonable. I don't think they're proportionate. Quite frankly, if we were going to be increasing pay in the public sector, my first priority would be the very low paid in the public sector, including, for example, care workers who are on some of the lowest salaries in the public sector, you know, and people in other job jobs that are low paid in the public sector. Junior doctors have had a fair settlement from the government. They've used a different measure of inflation, not the official measure of inflation, to get to this extra demand for 30%. I just don't think it's reasonable. I think their strike is going to compromise the quality of patient care. I think it's going to lead to unsafe patient care for people who are going to have operations delayed by weeks or even months as a result. It's not reasonable, and I agree with Ali. I think they've lost a lot of public support.
And let's just see that headline in The Guardian, where Streeting condemning doctors as the word he uses is reckless for striking. So that's the line
it's
that The
5
Guardian...
days as well.
Yeah.
5 days. They're
one.
switching off their care from Friday to Wednesday. It's just not on.
Well, let's see if there is some movement, between now and Friday. OK, let's go to The Telegraph again. And Ali, this to you. So James Cleverly, back in the shadow cabinet.
Well, look, there's not exactly an abundance of talent in the Tory party, let's be honest, right? They've got about 120 MPs. James Cleverly, I've known him for many, many years. We were candidates together. He's a friend. Look, he's a competent guy. He's a decent guy, perhaps too decent and too nice, which is why he lost by 4 votes against Kemi Badenoch. So one of the things I think he's probably learned is to, push harder and make sure that his team can count properly. But he's a serious player. He's well-spoken. He performs well. And I think amongst the talent that the Tory party has, he's one of the biggest hitters they've got. I think it's important that he's come back. Now, it's very interesting that he's going to be in the local government and communities brief, facing off against Angela Rayner, who is one of the big beasts of the Labour government. She's a very, very great performer, and it'll be interesting to see them, the two of them, facing off against each other in the Commons. I think, in terms of the other movements that she's made, they haven't been earth-shattering, but she has brought back Bernard Jenkin as Vice Chair of Candidates, which is interesting. And Frances Maud is making a comeback in sort of running her office. So she's looking to some of the older hands, the wiser heads, to come back into the party as well.
Sonia, what do you make of it?
Well, I agree that it's interesting because you've got Angela Rayner, who's sort of talked up as a potential successor to Keir Starmer and, very popular within her own party, who will now be facing off against James Cleverly, also seen as potentially still a future Conservative leadership contender. It is interesting. I think it comes back down to this idea of it's always better to keep your challengers and those who threaten you close than far. And I do wonder, it's not great for Kemi Badenoch to have somebody like James Cleverly sort of twiddling their thumbs on the back benches. So I wonder if that's part of the logic as well. But I'm sure it's also fresh. She's not considered to be doing exceptionally well as a Conservative leader, so I'm sure it's part of trying to refresh her team.
Yes.
We'll see how it goes. OK, we don't have a lot of time. One last story to get in, front page of the Metro. The pandemic aged our brains, but not COVID itself. Sonia, start us off. Just explain what they actually mean.
So this is a very interesting study. It's an academic study based on scans of 1,000 people's brains before the pandemic and after the pandemic. So it was a study that was being done anyway. And what the findings are is that people aged on average 5.5 months more than they should have done their brains. 5.5 months older than they otherwise would be after 2 years of the pandemic. And this happened, whether you contracted COVID or not. So it
was more like isolation?
Yes. Well, there's a couple of hypotheses. One is that possibly it's the impact of social restrictions. Second, and maybe isolation and loneliness. And the second is it's the uncertainty of not knowing when the pandemic is going to be over.
Look, I think we all aged during COVID, didn't we? It was isolation. It was the fear of getting
I'm so sorry.
COVID
We're going to have to end it there. We'll talk about it again.